Yes.
Her husband thought that was a terrible thing. So that was not a good comment. So I learned to say, please bring with you a pair of shorts. Because in San Francisco you say, can you take your jeans off? And they take the jeans off. And I'm not wearing any underwear today, is that okay? Well, you already took everything off, who cares? But in other places it's not like that. So, this is a class, so you want to, because I work with the body.
Right.
I don't do the TCM thing of rolling up, above the elbows, above the knees. Okay, that's just not what, I need to see the body. It's always very interesting to see what's happening out there. Okay? So I think we've given people plenty of time to arrive.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a bathroom in the back, there's some water in the back. Take care of yourselves. I teach thoroughly fast and I don't stop for breaks. Be aware, there will not be a break between now and lunch unless you totally scream at me. Okay? That's just my style. So you can stop when you need to. It's okay, go and rest, whatever you need to do. You don't need to take every word I say, and you will, those of you, there's a bunch of people here who've studied with me before, you will find that I change, I'll tell you one thing 1 year, and then, a few years later it's like, forget this is bullshit, things need to change. Okay? So it's not like what I'm saying is so important. I would much rather you learn the style, you get the gestalt of it, than know every single protocol. It's really not important. And if you want the protocols, they're out there. They're in Kiiko's books. Sometimes there's mistakes in that. They're on my website. Sometimes there's mistakes in that. It's no big deal. Okay, don't worry about getting every single detail. If you have questions, just ask me. As a teacher, it's a little bit difficult. When I see you asking the person next to you, what did he say? I'm immediately wanting to interfere and answer the question. No. So what happens is you get, those of you who've seen Kiiko, you know how she goes, she goes berserk. She just, it's very hard to concentrate on both the patient and the class at the same time. So if the class is sort of like going all over the place, I tend to go that way also, and I'm not young anymore, so my brain doesn't. No, I'm serious. It's harder for me to come back to where I started than like people who've known me like 10, 15 years ago. It was a lot easier for me. So I'm just saying it's just the nature of where I'm at. So ask me directly. It's even if I didn't hear, it's fine. I'm really happy to repeat. So before we start, if everybody puts their feet on the floor and close your eyes and breathe out 3 times. See yourself in a room. In the middle of the room, there's a box full of balloons already filled up. Pick a balloon of a color you really like and take the balloon to the window or the door of the room. If the window or door are not open, open them up and allow yourself to float up to the sky with the balloon. Hover up here until you find a place you really like. When you see that place that you really like, give the balloon string a little tag and land in that place you really like. Notice what time of day it is. Feel the air on your skin. Enjoy being here. Take a deep breath and open your eyes. This is California. Would someone like to share? I'm not from here anymore. Would someone like to tell you where they landed? Anyone?
On the beach in Maui.
The beach of Maui. McKenna?
Bye-bye.
Anyone else?
On a cloud,
On a cloud, okay. Anyone else? What time of day?
2 o'clock.
What time of day?
Afternoon.
No,
Morning.
Christine, yeah.
About noon.
Okay, anyone else?
I live in the redwood forest.
In a redwood forest, right?
132.
What? You looked at the watch. Okay. All right. Anyone else? One more.
I landed on the boardwalk in Santa Cruz.
On the boardwalk in Santa Cruz. Okay. What time of day?
Dusk.
Dusk. Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So what this shows you is it's very rare that somebody, if I give this exercise to people, Linda, you know this exercise. I can see you smirking. It's very rare that somebody says, I landed, some people will say, I landed in a cafe in Paris where I met my significant other, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's normal, and then it can be at night. Most people will land in a beach, a meadow, a cloud, there's going to be space, okay, very important factor, and there's going to be light. Okay, space and light are the components of healing, okay? They're very important. And the third one that I will add is knowledge of new possibilities, the capacity to change, to believe that things can change. If you're stuck in whatever you're in, it's not going to move anywhere, because you believe this is life, it can't change. So if someone says, I landed in a cave, dark cave full of snakes and scorpions, dial 911, this person is psychologically bad. They're either psychotic or they're majorly depressed or there's something wrong. So I don't know where you guys landed. Hopefully none of you landed in a dark cave with scorpions. Otherwise I'll have to make an excuse why that's okay for you. Generally speaking, the purpose of this exercise is to say healing is about space and light. Now, from here onwards, this class is going to get very, very technical. Okay? And that's why I wanted you to sort of remember this. Okay? This is about providing space and light. It's not about technique. Ultimately, technique is nice, and that's what I teach. Ultimately, I am a technician. Okay? And that's my interest, is technique. And finding out and figuring out and going, wow, this could be cool, this could be interesting, this point could mean this, and all that kind of stuff. And I'll give you ways to arrive at these things, my way to arrive at these things. They're not necessarily, I can't sign that this is the Kiiko way or anything like that. Okay? But behind all of that, there's always something else. Okay? There's something much more significant than just technique. Okay? So it's what happens when we walk into a room, or when people walk into our room, or whatever. That's the real stuff. The rest is directing that kind of energy, the space, the light, the knowledge of new possibility, the embracing of the person. But, so just to keep that in the back of our minds, because it really will get quite technical and will look like there's nothing besides technique in life. And I want to be sure that we're clear that that's not the case. Okay? The technique itself. So I wrote down, I know my handwriting is very difficult, so especially now with computers. So the technique is based on a few things. Medical history. Always take medical history. Okay? I have a student in Indonesia, he has a very, very busy practice. I mean, can't even imagine how many people this guy sees a day. I mean, Chinese style, it's like they come, 40 minutes and they're gone. And he said, I was there in November, Thanksgiving, and he said, I don't have time to ask them all. He wanted me to treat 10 people a day in a class. It's a lot of people to treat in a class, because for him it's like nothing. That's what I do in an hour. It's like he didn't think anything of it. And so I'm showing them, and I'm saying, well, I would ask him. I don't speak whatever the language there is called. I'm not sure. Sorry.
Awesome.
Indonesian is that okay? So I don't speak the language, right? So some of the patients, so I would say, did they have blah blah blah? And he said, well, I don't know. I said, but it's your patient. What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. It doesn't interest me. A few weeks ago, he emailed me. He said, now that I do, because he wanted to learn the style and everything. He So now that I do medical history, I asked them about medical history, my clinic is busy. Like, how much more busy could it get? I mean, I understood. And he said, it's really, everybody loves this medical, because he said, I get much better results with medical history. Medical history is a primary factor, okay? And I did this specifically, it's before abdominal findings. Everybody thinks Kiiko style is abdomen palpation. And there's a lot of truth to that. But we correlate it with a medical history. So yeah, we palpate the abdomen, we palpate the neck, we palpate the back. When I say abdominal palpation, I mean find it with the body, whatever you find in the body. Okay, the two of those come together. Okay, so you can't ignore the fact that someone has cardiac disease in the family because they may have a weakness in their heart. Okay, so you can't just say no, that's not important. It's like I'm just going to deal with your shoulder pain because, for example, if your shoulder pain's on the left, maybe it's the weakness in your cardiac system that allows for the left shoulder to be weak. If it's liver, maybe its right side will tend to be more weak. I mean, these are just kind of like general things. But we have to treat the person, not just the condition. You have to think if typical person that comes, okay? I went to Tara, went skiing, and that was, like 6 months ago, and then my shoulder, I fell, tumbled over, whatever, my shoulder is still hurting, okay? Okay, so you're going, okay, you fell, maybe you twisted, you did this. If you just treat the shoulder, it happened 6 months ago, why is the shoulder still hurting? Something in them is allowing it to keep hurting, so it's the medical history that matters, okay? So medical history is of primary importance, and then the findings in the abdomen will be correlated with that medical history. In other words, what in that medical history can I still see in the body? And by the way, people don't tell you the whole medical history, okay? Very common that they don't, okay? So you, from the abdominal findings, you go, oh, by the way, do you think you might have blah, blah, blah? And then it opens up and they say things. Okay? Once now you have a picture and you go, okay, from the medical history, they're like, I don't know, I want to treat their thyroid, it's theory. That's what I want. And you say, yeah, I think in the abdomen I'm finding these things. Okay. Now I'm prioritizing. I'm saying, what is most important to treat for this person? Okay? So I'm saying, usually we go for the first injury. Okay, what does first injury mean? It could be inherited. That's before you were born. Already your genetic code has that. Therefore, it comes before. By the way, when I was 5 years old, I fell on my tailbone. Okay, or I had colitis, or I had, But we're usually trying to go to the first injury and fix that. It's like a domino effect. If you take, it falls. If you take the first one, the body was busy with that injury, it wasn't available to handle things, and then the next injury happened, the third injury. When I say injury, it can mean anything. Psychological states, diseases, until they reach the situation they're in here now. Okay? Now, sometimes they really came for their ankle, and they don't understand why you're interested in their allergies. Because it's like, well, I don't want to pay extra. People really think that way. I came for my ankle, and you're like this charlatan, you ate charlatan, and you're going to treat my allergies, which I'm taking Claritin for, blah, 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 and I don't want to pay you. But they don't understand that there is a connection. Okay? So it's important to keep that in mind. So we're prioritizing, what do I want to treat first? And then we test. Okay? So the word diagnosis, do you know what it means? Very quiet. Diagnosis.
Through knowledge.
Through knowledge, okay, and I could say differently.
Diagnosis is to, analysis is to know.
Right. Yes, exactly. So in my opinion, now you can also say a third option, dia is a little bit like Dios, right? Godly knowledge. We, the doctors, have special knowledge. I'm better than everybody else, okay? The problem with diagnosis, double knowledge, two sides to the knowledge. The patient has one side, you have better side, supposedly. It's rubbish. Because how can you separate knowledge? There's only one knowledge. It should only be one knowledge. Can't be two knowledges out there. Okay? So the problem for me, I learned, someone will help me, the Robert Johns thing. correct something, correct something, correct something, correct diagnosis leads
No.
to.
Right.
But, yeah.
No, not to make fun of people. No, he was my teacher for a long time, and but the Chinese way, is you're supposed to get a correct diagnosis, which will bring you to a correct treatment treatment ideology, principle, and then you apply the actual treatment. Now, any of you who read journals from China know that it's actually not true. They follow this pattern. They tell you, this is what we found, the time, the pulse, da. And therefore, the diagnosis is da. Therefore, principle of treatment is coarse dampness, disperse, blah, 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 okay? And then they give herbs, and you go, I thought you were dispersing dampness. Why are you giving these? I mean, there'll be an herb there that will represent it, but often it won't always correspond. The really good ones, when they get really dramatic results, it's often like, they don't correspond. Principle of treatment and the actual treatment don't correspond. There's something that doesn't always match because clinically you have to treat. So principles don't matter so much. Okay? So for me, diagnosis is something that keeps shifting. Okay? Dr. Jiang, if you don't know who she is or who she was, Jiang Fujiang was an incredible herbalist in LA. She was from Shanghai. And she used to say, don't change diagnosis. Don't change the diagnosis. She was very insistent that the problem was that people and it's like, well, how many diagnoses do we have? Spleen G deficiency, liver young rising, whatever, TCM, you've got 5 times whatever, the climatic factors. There's only a limited number. And she would get kind of all upset that people will change diagnosis, and she would say, if you're not consistent, if you're not keep treating, how do you know? So she was very strong about don't change the diagnosis, and I'm exactly the opposite. Change the diagnosis every 2 seconds. Because if you can't prove that your diagnosis is correct, that's the testing. So if I'm saying, okay, this person, the adrenal is most important for them, and I'm pressing on, say, kidney 6, and then it doesn't work, I'm pressing kidney 7, I'm trying a kidney point, I'm doing my adrenal treatment, and the person doesn't get better, my diagnosis is wrong. Okay, I need to find, it's not that my diagnosis is wrong, okay, I'm stupid. It means find something else that works for this patient. Because what matters is not my diagnosis. In Western medicine, you go to someone and that's their specialty, they diagnose, they give you words. You have itis. Okay? And you say, thank you, $500. And then, excuse me, doctor, how do I treat it? And then they say, you have 3 answers. One, I'm a specialist in diagnosis. I don't do, it's true. I don't treat. Number 2 is, down, next door, there's the guy who treats the itis. He's a specialist, okay? And 3rd option is, oh, I'm so sorry, there's no treatment. I'm so sorry you have this, but we don't know how to treat it. That's pretty common too. That's the most useless diagnosis there has ever been. If I can't treat it, I don't care to name it. It doesn't matter to me. So the name doesn't mean anything to me. Okay, the name only means to me something in terms of can I treat it, can I make it, can I make something useful of it. So if I find out, I think it's their thyroid, and I try and treat the thyroid, and the person doesn't get better, and gets better means right here, right now, on the table, something changes in them, okay, then I need to find, no, maybe it wasn't their thyroid, maybe it's something else. So it's just a question of always finding out. So always correlating the medical history and the abdominal diagnosis, prioritizing and testing and reprioritizing. Okay? And then if that doesn't work, keep going back, search for more medical history, search for more abdominal findings, search for more. Okay, keep searching. So don't get too caught up in dogma. Okay, dogma is one of the words I hate the most. Okay, and I'm thoroughly dogmatic myself. Okay, so it doesn't resonate well for me. Don't do things as flexibly as possible. Okay, keep going back and forth. The other biggest mistake besides, now I'm talking about, I'm talking about people who know the style a little bit and giving you mistakes that are common for people to go through. One was the medical diagnosis, that people don't take good medical diagnosis. Number 2, and especially more recently, as far as I can tell, because of the way Kiiko teaches now, is a little bit faster in a way, and with a lot more people, and you're not really seeing, and she gets excited about doing something. often what she does nowadays is she doesn't palpate the whole abdomen at first. Okay? She starts because she wants to show you something will work. And she shows you, oh, see, it works. And then the patient goes, oh, by the way, there's all these. And then she turns more and says, okay, let's redo the abdomen. Okay. My suggestion is try not to get sucked into that, even though Kiiko is doing it. Okay. Kiiko has at least 10 extra years on top of me. Okay. And I have a fair amount of extra years on most of you. Okay. So at least in this style. Okay. So my suggestion is that that's for quote-unquote advanced person. So in other words, so for example, we talk about oketsu. We all love to teach oketsu first, which is a terrible mistake, by the way, and I'll explain to you why that's not a good idea. But it shows you the style. Oketsu shows on left stomach 27 to left kidney 16. I also don't draw very well. So it's this area here, okay? Now all my points are relative, they're not terribly exact. With the one exception, when I talk about adrenal, it is exact, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, it can't move. Okay, everything else is very flexible. I don't know if stomach 27 is a little bit more towards the kidney channel, a little more towards the spleen, no big deal, I don't care. 27, a little higher, a little lower, no problem. You can move the points, okay? So, we call this oketsu. If we find this, we say this is oketsu. Okay? And we treat it with left liver 4, left lung 5. Okay? You will find people who say you treat it also with right lung 5. You'll find people who say you also add immune. Okay? You can add immune. It's an extra. It is true. But the treatment is left liver 4, left lung 5. Okay. What happens is people go through and they come and they say, okay, I found oketsu. Liver 4, lung 5. Okay, next. Do I have adrenal? Do I have this? Do I have this? That's not the style. Okay? The style is find everything in the abdomen first. And prioritize. Think about it and test it. Don't go, okay, they have this finding and needle it or resolve it. The point is you find pressure in the abdomen and you release that pressure pain. Okay? With remote points. That's what it looks like. Okay, this is where there's a mistake. So the mistake that people make is they think the whole style is like this magical thing, like you press on the abdomen, you press on the point, you put a needle in the point, and wow, abdomen's better. Yeah, it looks impressive and the patients like it also. That's not the full style. Okay, don't be fooled by that. The full style, in my opinion, and I'm not authorized, it's not like I have a certificate from Kiiko Matsumoto or Avi Magidoff teaches correctly or incorrectly. I don't care. Okay, I mean, sorry. I mean, there's always hierarchies. Anything Asian, there's always going to be someone, there's the top and, I teach you what I do. I'm not claiming, I'm not giving you certificates that you're Kiiko Matsumoto style experts or anything like that. This is, it's like, I'm teaching you what I do. Okay, medical history, abdominal findings. Get as full a picture as you can. Start thinking about what it's going to mean and test it out. And what does testing it out means? Can I find the least amount of points that affect all the findings, not just one? So what you see is we palpate abdomen and we should be able to get up to, say, the first knuckle in without any pain. The person should feel your fingers. Okay, but there shouldn't be any pain or weird feeling or anything like that. And if there's something there, if they say, no, that doesn't feel right, you're assuming there's a pathology there, and then we have a map that says, okay, this point means it's this point means it's this, and then we have protocols. For this, treat this, for this, treat this. Okay, so that's all memorization stuff. We'll go through that in a moment. Then I press on a point and I repress the abdomen. I say, is it better? Is it better now? And how much better it is. That's testing. Now, here's the mistake that people make. So I had, I think you were there, a student, very good student of mine, very good friend, and where, she said, Avi, oketsu, I can do large intestine 4, liver 3. Now, if you say to me, there are 3 points I don't want to hear, okay? Large intestine 4, liver 3, stomach 36. You all know exactly why I don't want to hear it. Okay? It's like, I've been to school, I've done that, that's all I ever saw. Well, pericardium 6, by the way, also. There were a few others. I don't want to see it again. It's like I'm sick. And it's been over 20 years and I haven't done that. I remember once Kiiko said to me, she's going larger than before. She wanted me to kneel larger than before. Are you kidding? What is this? You know, but I have an allergy to these points. Okay. So here's Camille, and she goes, I do large intestine 4, liver 3, 4 oketsu. What do you think? I'm like, Camille, you know that I'm not going to. It's like a red blanket to a bull. So I said, okay, fine. Let's try. Okay. So, because I'm teaching, I'm supposed to be nice, compassionate, whatever. So, okay. So we have a patient, and they have, I don't remember what it was 12, 13 years ago, but they have whatever they have. And let's say they had Dren 7, I think they had Dren 17 also. We call anxiety reflex. I said, let's see the oketsu, with large intestine 4, liver 3. Okay, large intestine 4, liver 3, oketsu gone. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. How's Ren 17? Still there. How's this? Still there. How's this? Still there. I said, okay, thank you. We take large intestine 4, liver 3 out. Liver 4, lung 5. Oketsu, better. Ren 17, better. Blah, blah, better. Blah, blah, better. The point is to find that's prioritizing. Don't clear the abdomen. Now, can I have someone who knows they are not going to get on the table today? They won't want to get on the table today. They don't want to be treated today. Come on. Wake up.
What do you want? What do you want?
I want to poke the abdomen. That's what I always
Who wants
do.
to have
Who wants to have their abdomen poked around? But is not going to have a treatment today.
I don't have to have a treatment today.
Okay. I just want to show you the abdomen is not gone. Okay. No. That it's not. There's a reason to my madness. A ring?
Yes.
Okay. So, by the way, come, it's fine. So that's the other thing. My style, or Kiiko's style really, Kiiko used to say, this is the style of, if it's possible, maybe for the people who are sitting in the front row, you don't have to come, so you can stay seated and then people can stand behind you or something, but just this funny space. So when I poke, I go to the spleen line unless they have something like Crohn's colitis, something like that. But otherwise, I go to the left spleen line and go so they can feel what it's like. Now, don't watch my fingers for a second. Watch me. Okay? Yes? I'm coming for my whole body. Now, question to you. Usually people on the spleen line don't care. Usually left spleen line is not a problem unless they have colon problems. Okay. Now, watch me. This was not so pleasant, right? Versus this versus.
That's pokier.
That's pokey. You don't want pokey. Okay, this is not pokey acupuncture. Okay, it really isn't. It should be okay for the patient. So I want them to feel what spleen line's like. Then I go, okay. We'll start with oketsu. Teeny something in my finger. By the way, you have very line pulse.
Yeah, not always, but.
Okay, you do today. Okay. So,
This week,
oketsu, right? You feel?
Yeah, a little.
Okay.
Just tiny bit.
How about lung reflex, opposite side? No. Adrenal, I told you, very accurate. 4 o'clock, meaning just below kidney 16, like there's a clock. Kidney 16 will be 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, just below. High. I know, no, okay, I feel the pulse though, because of the, and nothing. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if the patient feels nothing and you feel some sort
I
of
will
tension?
consider it, but then I can't get feedback.
Oh, okay.
So I consider it, but
And
I
then-
can't ask them, by the way, is it better? Because, well, they didn't feel.
And if the patient feels it and you feel nothing, it's still it's definitely a positive. So
Yes,
it's
because
more
they can
of a-
give you feedback. Yeah, there
Okay.
are times, I can't tell you exactly what you're going to feel. You'll feel sometimes hardness, sometimes you'll feel like a balloon, sometimes you'll feel different things. It's not always the same thing. It's not everybody comes the same. Height, 24, 13, 19, 28. Okay. 13, 28.
13, you're
12.
saying?
Kidney 13, uterus reflex, and yeah. Right now we're not going. I just wanted to show you like a general. There's a purpose to this. I'm not
Okay,
showing you
okay.
exactly what. Okay, high liver side compared with the spleen side, pretty much the same. Okay, liver 14, liver 14. Okay, because liver will show right side. Very few people show on the left. Okay. Inguinal. No. A little.
Maybe a tiny little.
A tiny little. Okay. So up to now we had oketsu, Ren9, and uterus reflex on the right side, and inguinal teeny bit on the right side. Okay. She's not going to get treated, so I can do this. Now, do not do this with your patients. This is pure. I don't do this with anyone patient-wise. See in a second why. And the reason why I'm doing this is simply to show you the abdomen is very quick to change, very easy to change. And hers is very, she's very soft, by the way. Abdomen is very soft, no big deal. Okay, take a deep breath. And out. Don't tell your husband. That's why you don't do this with patients. And out. Hi, oketsu. Still same.
A little tiny,
But better or not?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay. Ren9.
I didn't feel it.
Oh,
It
you
was
didn't.
only the
Okay.
pulse.
Okay. Inguinal.
That's fine.
Okay. And 13.
It's a tiny little bit.
Okay. So improved. Okay. So all I did was I stretched the fascia, and things move. Okay. Now, because as you may have, first of all, she's very soft, and secondly, if you notice, quite flexible. It wasn't so there wasn't a lot of. I wasn't able to really stretch the fascia a lot, but it's just taking the connective tissue and spreading it out, and then the abdomen is gone. You can take a heat lamp and put it on. Okay. So changing the abdomen is not that big a trick. Okay, so just know that your purpose is, when I first started, I couldn't change the abdomen. I could change the abdomen when I was treating, but then it will come back week after week, and the abdomen never changed, but the symptoms would change. Nowadays, it's the opposite for me. Often, partially because you get more complicated cases with years and stuff, but it's also attitudes. It's a lot easier for me to change the abdomen, and sometimes even though the abdomen changed, the symptoms haven't changed yet. So it's kind of annoying. Don't worry so much. You want to change the abdomen on the table, okay? But it's temporary. It will come back. It's okay. After a number of treatments, the abdomen will start changing on a more permanent basis. But don't get so reliant on abdominal findings. And the reason thank you so much. So the reason I started this is don't chase one abdominal findings. Chase the whole damn thing. Okay, that's the purpose. Yes.
Sorry, Avi, as a practical matter, as a male and mostly working with females, I like the inguinal and stuff like that. I palpate through the clothes. Do you do that or okay?
You do what you can.
Yeah.
I have to. I don't have this problem. Okay, it's the lack of sexual orientation. No problem. No one's ever thought that it was a problem for me to palpate their inguinal. It was a problem for the husband to ask about that, to ask them to bring underwear. So, but it's just it's my fortunate. I'm allowed to exploit what I can when I can. So, do what you can. But ideally, in terms of this, is very hard to see what's going on. Honestly, because first of all, women, this is a huge hormonal area, the inner thigh. You really need to see. Also, you want to see is one thigh bigger than the other. Stuff like that. Don't take things for granted.
What did you call this area?
This is a hormonal area.
Oh.
This is the inner thigh. It's a huge hormonal area for it's not. And it's okay. Let's go through that, and then let's start mapping the body, and then we'll get someone on the table, and then you'll see what's happening. It takes a little bit of time to get into it. I'm sorry. Okay? So let's all stand up. Not on your chairs, but so you can see me actually. Okay. So kidney 6? Okay,
And where does Kiiko locate that kidney system?
just like everybody else. No big deal.
Isn't that so, you know?
Oh,
it's
this
for-
lower high, where did people get these ideas? I don't know, it's like for years, this Japanese kidney sink. Okay, Japanese kidney sinks. I don't know anything about Japanese kidney sinks. I just know that there's kidney sinks. I never heard, I know, it's something that Holly brought up because Miriam had something or something. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, don't worry about where kidney sinks is. What I want you to do is send the heel is this. And the ankle bone is this, the malleolus. Okay, we have real terms, right? We know anatomy. So send the heel down, keep your toes on the floor, send the heel down and lift the ankle bone. In other words, stretch kidney 6, open up kidney 6. What are you feeling? Heel towards the floor, ankle bone up. And if you're on heels, get off them. Anybody feel anything?
The whole line of tension is turned in.
Thank you. Very, very nice. Okay. Yes. Anybody else feel the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what you're feeling is the inside of the thighs. Eventually you should be able to, if you're in tune, you'll be able to feel Ren 1, Do 1. And you'll feel the whole line of the spine if you keep it going up towards your throat. Banda. Okay. No, seriously. That's really what it starts from the separation of kidney 6. Okay, so that, now, what's the name of kidney 6? Okay,
Jiao Hai.
Jiao Hai. Jiao, you have the knife, and what's under the knife? It's water, knife, and is it I or ko?
It's Ko.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. See how I write very terribly, but anyway, it's the water that you are putting fire to illuminating sea, right? To illuminate what is evident, the knife that cuts through the words. Okay, this is to illuminate. Jiao, that word. This Jiao is, for example, in the Heart Sutra, we say that Kuan Yin, Zhao Zi Cai, observed, illuminated her own self in order to overcome bitterness and distress. Okay, so you know it's a meditation term also, Jiao. Okay, from here, by the way, it's the channel. It's a Yin Chao channel, right? Okay, it ends in I to illuminate. Okay. This capacity of activating kidney 6, you can illuminate your whole body. And where does it come from? It comes from here. So we have a point here. You know, you can call liver 9, yin sort of area. We call yin on the kidney channel. Same thing. Very, very important point. Why? Because it holds the whole gate. It has a whole ability to hold your organs from the feet. Okay, so for example, there's a very famous sort of understanding that you should be breathing from your ankles. Okay, no one has a diaphragm in their ankles. Okay, but you can energetically breathe in the ankles. Okay, so that's what is what kind of activates the if you want, you can activate the meridians. I don't know, you'll have different terms for it. Okay, so who was it that asked about the inner thigh? Okay, so that's your answer.
Thank you.
Okay, it goes directly into the perineum. Okay. All right. So let's talk about mapping, so we can have some material to play with. Okay.
One thing,
Yes.
sometimes, and I know that it's an area, but sometimes can I see your ankle? Like, it's clinically more effective, these kidney 6.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is, I mean, officially kidney 6 is under. If you, I mean, I told you, none of my points are exact. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, don't forget the kidney channel
Yeah, it
circles
goes all the way
ankle.
there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so whatever works.
Whatever
basically.
works for you. I don't only care that I told you, the only thing I care about is 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock, because it's hard to see adrenal if it's somewhere else.
Yeah.
It has to be there, and I'll go through why that is. Okay. All right. So, first finding that we'll talk about, and we used to, that was the God, okay? System, being fundamentalist, something else. But for my kind of fundamentalists, oketsu was God. then it fell like all other gods. It disappeared fell from grace. So, and no, the point is why and also. That's the whole. I mean, it existed before and nobody treated it. Nobody knew about it. Nobody cared. Okay. So we say oketsu is left stomach 26, 27, maybe kidney 16 as well. And it represents stagnant blood. The term itself is stagnant blood, but it's not exactly like stagnant blood, like, okay, use Tao Ren Hongguang. Okay? It means the blood is sort of piling up. Like, for example, if you have a fever, because they actually discovered it, this is supposed to be liver reflex, according to the Nanjing. Liver reflex, supposed to show left of the navel. Okay, so original, you know, if you do primitive, you know, diagnosis is, this is the heart, this is the spleen, this is the kidney, this is the liver, and this is the lung. Okay, that's, I mean, it's just the direction. Okay, there's nothing special. Now clearly this is not terribly useful. Okay, it's going to have to get a lot more interesting than that in order for it to have some clinical value. So they had in TB sanatoriums in Japan, they discovered that all these people who had TB and asthma and stuff, they would have this reflex, and they're going, why do they have a reflex on the liver? They're supposed to show here, right? I mean, we know traditionally Nanjing says blah blah supposed to be on this side, and somehow they're finding it on this side. All these people are showing liver reflex. So they figured what their thinking was that, yeah, the liver is here, and the portal vein comes from this side over. Okay. When you have an infection like TB, okay, the blood sort of gets sluggish because of the infection. Okay. And by the way, most of my terms are Western and not, if you ask me about spleen dampness, you're not going to get a lot of response. Okay, so if you're noticing that I'm talking pretty much Western terms, just get used to it. Okay, they're not necessarily accurate, but that's the terms I'm using. Okay, so the blood gets a little sluggish, it doesn't flow well. The liver contains a lot of blood. Okay, it's a very spongy, it's not just TCM liver stores the blood. It's a sponge, okay, that holds blood. The blood comes relatively from the left side, from the small intestine, the blood goes to the liver to be detoxified. You know, you pick up the food. Actually, we should talk about that in a second also, so we get an understanding. And then, so if the liver that holds a lot of blood, if the blood is sluggish, it's going to show towards the entrance of the liver. And that's the stagnant blood. Okay? So stagnant blood often says the person, had a lot of bruising because of many operations, maybe they had lots of infections, immune issues, things of that nature. Okay? So that's stagnant blood. Now, and the treatment for it is liver 4. By the way, my liver 4 is, yours is right on top by the ankle bone. Mine is, Kiiko's, is a thumb below. Okay. Now, just to give you some reverence to liver 4, because I know most of you have never heard of liver 4 before, right? Liver 3, liver 3, liver 2, liver 1. Liver 4, there is Lingshu chapter 2 talks about the 5, the points below the ankle and below the knees, below the elbows, and all the major, and then he talks about the points here in the neck that people nowadays call windows of the sky. Okay. The only point that it really mentions that it cares about, it says about liver 4, it says if you needle with the flow, you create harmony. If you needle against the flow, you create havoc in the abdomen. It doesn't say that about any other point. It mentions every point, all the 5 element points or whatever they're called, the antique points. Okay? Liver 4 it cares to say something about. So it says that there's something really important about liver 4. Okay? Which is a point that in TCM nobody has ever, it's a point location issue. It's not a real point. For us, it's a huge point.
Show us where you're finding, are you above the tendon?
I'm on this side of the tendon, and I'm about a thumb below the ankle.
Medial to the tendon?
Medial to the tendon, yeah. Sorry. Okay. So liver 4, lung 5, my lung 5, or our lung 5, whatever you want to call it. TCM often likes to take it right next to the muscle. Hello. We take it slightly outside of lung 5, needle downwards. We tend to needle with the flow of the channel. Okay? So just so that you know, you'll see it all. Okay? So that's okay. So now why is it that God has descended from its throne, sort of thing? In the 90s, when oketsu was so big, okay, and the reason I'm saying it is because I recently, when I taught in Israel, there was this woman, she was like the oketsu queen. She wanted, everything had to be oketsu. And it's like, what era did you come from? I haven't bothered with this. Yeah, exactly. She had a teacher who came from 96, actually. So what happens is, if you recall the 90s, the Clinton era, the dot-com era, there was a lot of cheese and wine and everything was cool. So it's kind of like there was a certain amount of what you might call stagnation, a little bit extra stuff. So oketsu showed a lot. But then came year Y2K, right? There was an economic collapse. I mean, look at America, okay? America is built on 3 principles as far as I know. Okay, I'm not American, I'm allowed to say weird things. Number 1, economic safety. Number 2, physical safety. This country has never been invaded by anybody else, very unusual. Okay? Number 3, we're supposedly democratic. Okay? We export democracy. You know, we may not have it, but we export it. So, look, Y2K, suddenly the economy collapses. Second thing that happens, we have an election we have a president that was not elected. If nobody remembers, I guarantee you that it's true. It's the Supreme Court that elected the president, George Bush, first time. And then we have 9/11. So for the first time, Americans were actually invaded on their own turf. Okay? The 3 components of American understanding of life disappeared. Suddenly, what did we find? Adrenal. Everybody suddenly has adrenal in the 2000s. Okay? And oketsu disappeared. It doesn't exist so much. It used to be, we used to say, when Kiiko first came from Nagano, and she said, 80% of all people have oketsu. Like, it was like, there was nothing to question about it. You know, of course they have oketsu. Now, it's like you rarely, if, you know, you'd have to find her in a very interesting mood to see her do oketsu. Okay, and it's true about me too. And that's my explanation of why, because things do shift and things do change. Okay? And of course we see a lot more autonomic, we started seeing a lot more autonomic nervous system disorders, and we're seeing a lot more autoimmune disorders. Okay, so those are the things that we're seeing more now that we saw less in the 90s, just because times changed.
So I have a question.
Yes.
So, because several of us work with gynecology issues, fertility, if it would seem to me, because a lot of women have that place where the oketsu is sensitive, would the adrenals be underneath? Is it kind of like adrenal thyroid? How you
No, okay, yeah, no. With oketsu is a separate finding. There's no hierarchy there. There's a hierarchy, for example, between adrenal, immune, and autonomic nervous system.
Okay.
Not a hierarchy, but there's a strong correlation. I would have to see what you're saying with the oketsu, because oketsu could be a common finding in gynecology, especially since, you know, while we're saying it's not exactly Tara and Honghua, it's somewhat related, and since so much gynecology does relate to Tara and Honghua, I mean, I'm not going to deny that there's possible. I'm not saying you're not going to find any. Okay, but in my
but my question was, would we deal with adrenal first and then?
Okay, well, I'll go through prioritization in a second. We're just mapping. Okay, remember, I just want to give you some maps so we can play.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, we can't. Adrenal should take precedence. Autonomic nervous system should take precedence. Lack of blood should take precedence. But oketsu is one of the. If you really have oketsu, and the blood is sluggish, nothing's going to move until you move that blood.
Right.
So it may be, you may need to treat that first.
Okay.
You need to figure out which is which. You can't, and it's one of those things you have to play with.
Okay.
The only problem with oketsu as far as so we used to love teaching oketsu as the primary thing. It's so simple, it's so clean, it's so dogmatic, it's fabulous. Okay, big problem for the style. Pressing liver 4 and lung 5. Okay, liver 4, lung 5. How is your oketsu? Impossible. Okay, so it's a useless teaching tool in some ways, because basically we needle. We don't recheck. And then after we needle, we recheck oketsu. And then you'll see in the notes, if what we call oketsu kai, the oketsu is very strong, then you need to, maybe the inner thigh is stuck, and that's, I want to talk about circulation. So let's do that and then move on to adrenal. So, yes?
Sometimes check liver 4 pressing.
You could, but the thing is, sometimes liver 4 won't totally do it. Honestly, I just go, after a while, there's a feel to liver 4. There's a sort of like a puffiness on liver 4. And when you get that puffiness, chances are it's the right point. I wouldn't worry too much about getting the right liver 4, as long as you're below the malleolus and not attached to it. And look for that weird, there's something, there's a liver 4 feeling, trust me. Okay. So, circulation, because we talked about the portal vein. Okay, the blood. Blood goes from the heart. Now, I may be wrong. If anybody here knows better, let me know, but my understanding is that it's something along these lines. You start from the heart, you go down into the legs, okay? You're coming up through the legs, okay? And now you're going into the small intestine, or you're surrounding the small intestine. So you came from the legs, that area we talked about, the inner thighs, into the abdomen, coming towards the liver, from the left to the right. From the liver, so you picked up the food, detoxified it, came to the lungs, gave up the CO2, right? And picked up oxygen, now go to the heart. And now, again, to the legs, back through the inner thighs and the inguinal, into the abdominal organs, to the liver, to the lungs, to the heart. What does that mean? Let's give this person legs. This area can be extremely important for people. Okay, any stuckness, either in the inguinal here or in the inner thigh, is going to block blood circulation into the abdominal organs. So, for gynecology, for example, this you can do it through, where are you? Through the clothes. You can also palpate liver 12 area. Liver 12, by the way, is called hasty pulse. Okay, there's a haste there. We'll go through that also. So this area is extremely important structurally, but it will affect the organs. So, for example, if you have oketsu that does not disappear with liver 4, lung 5, you want to resolve either the inguinal or the inner thigh. Okay. Now, here's the difference between Kiiko and me. I would say the inner thigh gets me more. I get more bang for my buck. Kiiko gets more bang for her yen on the inguinal. Okay. There are going to be differences in style in what we do, and I will try and tell you where it is, to the best of my knowledge. I can't guarantee what someone else does. Okay? So this area of the inner thigh is super, super important, just because of blood circulation. Okay. Next, adrenal. Let's make this a little more convenient. So, the adrenals show, we call 4 o'clock and 8 o'clock. So take kidney 16 and just underneath. It's not going to be kidney 16. Now, there's going to be an argument between me and David Euler, who's Kiiko's ex-husband. And Kiiko seems to now, she used to not agree with David, but she seems to be doing it now anyway. I do not believe there's such a thing as one-sided adrenal. Okay? Can't be. No one comes and says, I had this shock, but only my left or only my right adrenal was affected. Shock is systemic, okay? You exhausted your adrenals, you exhaust your adrenals, whether it's in one shot or over a long period of time. I don't understand how it can happen only on one side. I can understand that one side is weaker, therefore you feel it, it's clearer. So, let me just go through. Treatment for that is officially kidney 6 plus 27. Okay, so,
You're saying
for adrenal, the original treatment, Nagano's treatment, remember this Zhao Hai, this viewing, I wrote very funnily, okay. That observation, okay. Now, who can describe the kidney channel? Do you remember the kidney channel?
What about?
Be careful, be very careful, this is a trick question.
Maybe you should do it.
No, if I do it, it doesn't count. Come on, you all know the problem, because you all went through school and you went, this doesn't make sense, what the fuck is going on? And yet, no one cared, nobody gave you an answer, and you didn't bother looking for an answer, there are no likelihood.
The kidney channel.
The kidney channel starts in the little toe, goes to kidney 2, kidney 1, kidney 2, circles the ankle, goes into the inner thigh into Ren 1. Okay, Ren 1, do 1. Okay, now what does it do? That's the interesting part.
Branch off, like internally it goes to the kidney. I
See,
can't
I
remember.
love how we just forgot this part. We
And
just,
then
there's a
part of it
couple.
comes in the abdomen, and then the original description didn't include like the chest.
Not quite, but you've got something. Okay, I'll give you the description. It goes up the spine,
Hey, Christine.
penetrates, they penetrate the kidney and go down to the bladder, and then goes up to kidney 27 and ends spiraling the throat. So two things before we go to the controversy. It spirals all the time because that's the nature of water. Okay, it's waves. Okay, fine. But the problem is, from do 1 it goes up the spine to Mingmen. Okay, and then it goes down the bladder, penetrates the kidneys, goes down to the bladder, permeates the bladder, and then it goes up, and then you're going, something doesn't match, because you want it to come into the perineum and go kidneys 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 27, right? But the description doesn't give it to us. Okay? So in my opinion, this is a personal opinion, okay? No, because you won't find it in the books, okay? Because the numbering system is wrong. It comes up the spine into Mingmen and comes into, the name of kidney 16 is Huang Shu. And what's about for Wang? It's
Wang,
it's,
right.
it's the missing, something busy, Wang, right? It's Wang above the organ?
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe it's, is it like this? Sorry, something.
It's okay, it doesn't matter.
Okay, doesn't matter. Okay. I believe it's something that's busy. It's something that's missing. It's missing. It's like
Yeah.
you're away.
It's like death and
Death
flesh. Yeah.
Wang. Okay.
Wang.
But the thing above is okay.
It's death.
Yes.
Wang.
Okay. Yeah. So for example, that's why I'm thinking busy, because to be busy is to the heart died. So busy is like is shin with busy. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind. Sorry. So the missing, the death of an organ, if it's dead, it means it's not there. Something, because we've all learned Wang Shu, Gao Wang Shu. Well, nobody can tell you what it means. Okay, so you have to sort of find, all we can say is there's got to be something really important and interesting about this Wang thing. Okay? Now, kidney 16 is called Huang Shu. There's only 2 shus that are not on the bladder channel. Huang Shu, kidney 16, and Shu Fu, the shu of the fu organs. Everything else is on the bladder channel. Every other shu point is going to be on the bladder channel. So something's very interesting in kidney 16. So kidney channels comes up to Mingmen, comes into the kidneys, which is level with the navel, and my opinion is it goes down. So it goes 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11. Another branch starts at 16, goes 17, 18, 19, okay, circles the throat. So when you have a shock, okay, the kidneys and fear come together. Okay, I don't know what your kind of nightmares are, but say you have a nightmare, and say, I don't know, there's a train approaching and you're stuck on it, I don't know, whatever you have, and you kind of feel in your body, you go into kidney 16. The kidney channel separates. Okay, that's why I believe just below kidney 16 shows that separation of the channel. Okay, so we say adrenal shock. So originally we did kidney 6 plus 27. Nagano said that the point below is to encourage the adrenals, and this is to subdue the parathyroid. Okay, that it's important to do both, that you can't, if you encourage the adrenals, then the parathyroid will also go up, so you need to subdue it. Okay, so that's why there's 2 of them according to Nagano. You can look at it maybe more philosophically and sort of look at reunited the kidney channel, whatever. Make up your own understandings of these things. Okay? Now, nowadays, instead of kidney 6, we can do many other kidney points below. It doesn't have to be kidney 6. Kidney 6 we needle towards the Achilles tendon. Okay, it's very superficial and towards the Achilles. It's not 45-degree angle. It's like flat against the skin and down towards the Achilles. And kidney 27 also flat and towards the Ren channel, towards the middle. Okay. Now, we can use any kidney below the knee with kidney 27 and call it adrenal treatment. So we have a number of substitutes. For example, slow pulse person tends to work better with kidney 7. Also, if they have kidney 2 pain, we have a big concept. If the fire point is painful, kidney 2 is the fire point. Okay. Now, our kidney 2, however, is not directly under the navicular. We take it slightly more front, slightly towards 3 and 4, where there's a little bit more flesh. So just know. If you press it in this pain, we do metal and water points. Okay, now we're going to have this big concept. Use metal and water to overcome fire. Okay, so the fire point often will show that there's some sort of inflammation or something in the channel. And in order to, because one of the principles of the system is we do not reduce. Remember, tonify, that was part of that correct diagnosis thing, right? So you have to know which technique, appropriate technique is the thing that followed, So it's very important in TCM, this thing. We don't have this concept. We are almost always tonifying, except with bladder channel, sometimes in gallbladder channel. We're always tonifying. We're always looking for the weakness. We're never looking for the excess. The excess is there because of a deficiency and underlying weakness. So we're always looking to encourage rather than to take away. Okay? So if I want to take fire away, water overcomes fire, right? My understanding of 5 elements. Okay? And metal is the mother of water, so it encourages water to do a better job in overcoming the fire. So metal water points, you'll see, are like the most commonly used points that we have on all the channels. Now, the only problem is on the yang channel, it's the Jingwell and the 2 points, the spring, whatever it is.
Spring.
Okay. So those 2 points, and obviously nobody likes needling the Jingwell points too often. You get used to it. But on the yin channel, it's very convenient. Okay, because it's usually the ankle and the knee points.
Can you
Yes.
locate kidney 10 for us?
Yes, when I have someone on. Okay, no. Yeah. So that's adrenal. Okay, kidney 6, 27. Then we have lung reflex.
So wait, not kidney 16.
You don't needle kidney 16. I have no idea where this came from. In the 20-something years I've been seeing Kiiko, she needles kidney 16 for other purposes, but it's not part of adrenal treatment except once, many years ago. And I think what happened, there are people who have taken certain things that Kiiko says and have made, and it might be that Nagano actually did do it. I don't know. The problem is people have taken certain things and then they've made dogmas out of them. So there is a dogma that says, one of the dogmas, this is like 17, 18 years ago, Holly had a class and she said, adrenal is a very special treatment. You do it once, you never do it again because it's so deep or so, whatever. It's fine. No, we all do different things. It's okay. It's like, I can just say it's certainly not my thing. And kidney 16 was part of this treatment for Holly. The problem is Holly's quite prominent, and so people just go and say, oh, well, that must be it. And, if it resonates for you, go do it. I can tell you that Kiiko does adrenal time and time again on people. I can tell you that I do it time and time again. And actually, I hate to say this, but I've talked to Holly's assistants at the time, and I said, why is she saying that? And they said, we don't know. She does it time and time again. Why does she? So I don't know if it was like a mistake that something came out of her mouth and it wasn't what she meant to say. She meant to say something. I don't know. The problem is it gets immortalized, because someone with significance says something, and then everybody assumes that this must be the way. Okay, and then they come and they ask, but it says blah, 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 and it's also in Kiiko's book. There's a whole bunch of those things. That didn't always come from Kiiko. Sometimes they came from David. They came from different places. That's what I'm saying. Take everything I'm saying also. This is what Avi says. This is not the ultimate. So it works for you, fabulous. Doesn't work for you, no problem. Look for something else. But one of the problems with Kiiko's books is, in my opinion, is that there is not enough clarity between what is the real essence of the treatment and support. People call me or email me all the time, but it says do this, this, this. What? Then I'm like, yeah, if you have, it's a supporting possibility. And people don't seem to be able to make the distinction. And then I'm looking at the book and I'm like, well, sweetie, it says. Well, it says in such a way that it's not so easy to find. So I can't say, no, it doesn't say that it's a supporting point, but it's not, unfortunately, those books are not quite as easy, especially people who don't know the style well. Okay? So we're human, you know, we're all going to have different angles on this. Next, the immune area, which is opposite oketsu. Yes?
You said kidney 27 subdued the parathyroid and kidney 6.
Encourages the adrenal. So this is where, you know, there's these hierarchies of glands, you know, so for, you know, when the adrenals go down, okay, like as in menopause, what happens? You start leaching calcium out, okay? Meaning the parathyroid is getting more active. They're antagonistic glands. Okay. The adrenal is weak, the parathyroid is strong. If you if you tonify the adrenal, you want to make sure that, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What if you get rid of all the pressure pain at adrenal with just kidney 6? Are
You still do
on
27, yeah, you still do. 27 usually won't give you huge amount of extra clearance. Just assume. The big problem is not going to be 27. The big problem is going to be which kidney point at the bottom to use. Kidney 27, don't worry, just do it. Just do it. Any other questions before we move? Okay. Lung reflex or immune reflex. Okay. This reflex here on this side can be, unfortunately, can be a number of different things. It can be a digestive reflex. It can be a lung reflex, because that is where Namjik says the lung will show. Okay. It can be immunity reflex. Why? Because the appendix, it's on top of the appendix. The appendix is basically an immune organ. Okay. So depending on what it is. Now, so let's assume it's immunity. So you can never tell what this reflex is going to mean. You have to correlate it to your medical history and test it out. So that's where this thing is going to come in handy. Okay. So if it's immune, our original immune reflex is actually not in the abdomen. The original immune reflex is Sanjiao 16, behind the SCM. When the person is lying down, you're pressing up towards the nose. The main immune point, we call it the immune point, is somewhere between it's closer to large intestine 11 than 10, but it's somewhere between the two, and it's kind of on the triple warmer channel. So originally Kiiko used to like to call it triple intestinal 10. Okay, no big deal. It's where the muscle and the bone meet. It's that adhesion of the muscle to the bone is what you're looking for. Now, this is a fabulous area to practice palpation. Why? Because you could be keeping one hand on Sanjiao 16, you press towards the nose. Now you let go of the pressure, but you keep your finger there. It's my middle finger. For me, always middle finger. Okay? It's my nice sensitive finger. Okay? And then you press on the immune point, and you can feel with this hand, when I have the right immune point, I'm just touching the skin, I'm not pressing. I can feel something expanding above my fingers in this case, not under my fingers, it's literally above my fingers, okay? So I have my finger touching the skin but not pressing. And when I feel that expansion or shift at Sanjiao 16, I keep the pressure on the immune point and then I press towards the nose and ask the person, by the way, how is your gland reflex? Okay, and then they say, oh, much better, or not, you know, hopefully they do. So that's a great area for you to practice palpation skills because there's not too many areas where you're going to get that kind of feedback where you can press on a point and feel it just on the skin. You don't have to actually press again to be able to tell, wow, there's an actual effect. Okay? Other reflexes, I always check liver, under the ribs, and spleen side and compare. Now for many people, those reflexes, they'll show both sides because the diaphragm is restricted. That's not a liver reflex. Okay? So you can, about liver 14, which is above the ribs, right side shows, that's clearly liver, but if only one side shows under the ribs, that's liver only. Okay? So liver, we have a number of different options for resolving, depending on what kind of liver it is. So we have, if they go dull pain, they're not saying ouch, they're not jumping, and you know that there is no physical liver damage, they didn't have hepatitis or radiation or something like that, and it's a dull pain, usually liver 1, okay, will do a good job, usually. The problem is we have so-called 4 liver 1s. So, take this gel out. Okay, so you have 1 liver 1, official Jingwell point is here, and this is the crease, and this is the other. Okay. Then you have halfway, then you have on the crease, and then you have middle of the toenail, halfway. This is originally Moxa liver 1. You know, that if you read in books, you know, in Chinese books, they'll say use this one for hernias, stuff like that. Kiiko likes this one nowadays the most. She used to like this one the most. Okay, things change. And I'm sure if you go and say, Avi said you used to like this, she'll look at you and say, yeah, I didn't think so. You know, it's a, you know, we change, we don't, you know, I'm just telling you, you have many options, and plus there's 4 of them. You're supposed to check all 4. Okay, so that's for liver deficiency. Okay. Yes, on the right side, right side, yeah. I was just looking at my drawing saying, oh, lucky I drew it on the right side, because I could have just as easily drawn it on the wrong side. Yeah, right side only. Now, if it's liver, now the other thing is check liver 2, fire point. If liver 2 is painful, do liver 4, liver 8, metal water. Liver 4 is the metal point, liver 8 is the water point. Then if they have actual physical liver damage, Nagano's combination for that, and that originally was for atomic bomb victims, you know, from the radiation, is kidney 7, spleen 7. Now, spleen 7 is literally behind the bone. You may call it liver 5. Okay, or 6 actually. You call it liver 6. But it's right behind the bone. My liver channel is on the bone. This is on the bone. This is the liver channel. It's pretty clear, in my opinion. Behind the bone is spleen. That's what the books say, behind the bone. I mean, it's just, I didn't invent this. So for me, no, because I remember, you know, I had this thing with Etienne, and she was going, how come your hepatitis treatment doesn't have liver 6? I use liver 6. And I said, well, this is what I do. She said, oh, that's liver 6. And I'm like, well, that's my spleen 7. So, kidney 7, spleen 7, right side, and right side heart 3, pericardium 4, which we take 3 fingers below pericardium 3. On me you can see, do you see this depression here? Okay, not on you can't see it on everyone, but if you go very lightly and touch them, you'll feel the depression of pericardium, you know, what we call pericardium 4. It's not the normal pericardium 4. Okay, that comes out of I think it's chapter 72 in the Nanjing, where it talks about the Western Mountain, the Eastern Mountain, something, you know, the Western, you know, it's right after this thing, you know, Korean constitutional treatment, something, you know, with a grandfather controlling the, you know. So right after that chapter, it says, what happens if the Western Mountains cannot subdue the Eastern Mountains? What it means, I think, is that Eastern Mountains is the liver and the Western Mountains are the lungs. The lungs is the grandfather of the liver, right? Metal is supposed to control wood, correct? I feel like people are with me, but it's okay, no problem. What happens if this rule doesn't work, and then it says for liver excess, what you should do is tonify the kidney, the mother of liver. Water is mother of wood, right? Mm-hmm. Yes. And subdue the fire. Fire is sun. Now that doesn't make sense in some ways, because do you remember there's this thing, tonify mother or subdue sun, according to whether it's excess or deficient. What it's saying is that for liver, the excess always involves a deficiency. You can't just subdue the fire, you have to tonify the water. And you see that very clearly, you know, in TCM also, you know, standard TCM. What's your most famous liver formula? Right. Now, I know people will say it's really not a liver form, but you know, in true practice, everybody treats it. You know, that's the big formula. But so if you look at the herbs, what are you seeing? Tonify the blood. Yeah, tonify the spleen to tonify the blood though. So it's tonify the blood. There's an acknowledgement that the liver is an organ that needs to have a lot of blood. And if there isn't enough blood, it's like a sponge that gets dry, gets thorny. And that's why you get the excess. So even in excess in the liver, there's always going to be a deficiency. So this statement in the Nanjing is, so that's why Nagano came up with this kidney 7, tonify kidney. Spleen 7 for us is basically a spleen channel point that we treat for kidney issues. We treat it for ears also. We treat it for the ears. We treat it for moving water. Spleen 7 seems to have a kidney function. And then heart 3 and pericardium 4. That's clearly the 5. Okay, so that's where this idea.
Right.
All on the right. It's a right-sided treatment. Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
For the right side?
Yeah.
The liver is on the right side.
Oh, just.
I mean, sorry. If you have a few people have liver on the left side, but you need an X-ray to figure that out, you'll probably have to do everything reversed. But I never had a patient. I mean, I know someone who has this, but I've never treated that person.
So this is all for liver, physical liver?
Physical liver.
So like
This hepatitis. People who are on chemo or
Oh,
radiation
chemo?
would often
For
have
any,
this. Yeah.
any kind of chemo?
Yeah. Then you have another kind of liver, which a lot of the chemo people will fit in, which is the detoxified liver. You know, liver that's been damaged by chemicals. And that will be a kidney 9, large intestine 15 type. Okay. Now you'll do that probably on both sides, and you'll get it to some extent from the medical history. Then you have the undefined liver type. So kidney 9 usually works for the undefined. Or I don't know if it will work, but it's safe for the undefined. As opposed to liver 1, which is clearly for deficiency. You know, I mean, you don't want to do deficient for the excess treatment and excess for the deficient type. So if you're not sure, leave those alone and go for kidney 9. The other thing is if you go to do 20 and go to the side of do 20, somewhere between the UB and the gallbladder channel, you may find a dent. That's also for undefined liver or either you can use. Originally we used to, I'm not going to call the one on the left side malaria point. Malaria attacks the spleen. Okay? In my opinion, and then I started doing it on the right for liver, and then a few years later I discovered that Kiiko was doing it on the right side for liver. So I think what's happening is it actually opens the diaphragm in some way. Now, because the liver can press on the phrenic nerve, can press on the diaphragm, often another liver reflex will be right side C3, which is where the phrenic nerve that affects the diaphragm comes. So the liver will can often show on the neck, C3. Okay.
Say that one more time.
The liver presses on the diaphragm. The diaphragm is innervated by the phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve leaves at C3, therefore C3. There's a feedback.
Got it.
Therefore C3. It's neck pain that's right-sided is quite commonly liver.
What about
But
left
neck
side?
pain, sorry?
What about left side?
Left side, okay. Left side, I would usually think of cardiac, but you can use spleen 1 to resolve the C3 sometimes, because it could be the pressure on the diaphragm on the left side. I'm not buying the spleen 1 on the left side. I know that's the current dogma. Sorry, I came from a different era. So, you know, for me it's more cardiac. For me also, if it's really from the diaphragm, I'd rather solve it to the malaria point. Yeah, but just note that the spleen, you'll see all the current notes in Kiiko's books and what in the current notes that are going out there will say right side right side C3, liver 1. Left side C3, spleen 1. My experience is the left side spleen 1, it hasn't done great for me.
Okay.
Okay, just that's me. And cardiac tends to work better. You know, cardiac issues will work better for me.
So the malaria point, do you see that reducing pressure pain on the spleen reflex?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The diaphragm. Okay. So we're done with liver, and we've done immune. We've done metal water. I want to talk about checking the inguinal checking Daima, gallbladder 26 is extremely important, especially for sports injuries, back pain, knee pain, stuff like that. Why? Because you're twisting on this axis. Okay? So always compare right and left gallbladder 26, especially if there's musculoskeletal issues. And you can eventually needle it, but resolve it first with kidney 7. Do kidney 7 first, and then do Daima. Next, let's move to the neck a little bit quickly, just for the beginning, and then we can have some demonstrations. So, very important to check the SCM. Okay. Now, the SCM, when I poke abdomen, you saw when I poke, it looks like I'm poking with 3 fingers, and I'm coming from my shoulders. I'm coming from my abdomen, really, into the person. But I have 1 finger that's on the point and 1 finger that's sensitive, that's sensing what's going on. Okay? That's why you want to be careful of not sticking the finger in, because then you can't sense. You want to really be very soft. With the SCM, you have 3 fingers, but you are actually palpating with a pad, not with the tips of the fingers, with a pad. So it's 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 if they have more. Yeah. The SCM is extremely, extremely important. Okay, and you'll find lots of problems in the SCM. Okay. The reason why is because it can constrict the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is a parasympathetic nerve. You want that nerve to operate like hell. You want more parasympathetic action. Remember, space, life, knowledge of new possibilities. Okay? That basically translates to parasympathetic nervous system, not sympathetic. Okay? Which is why you'll see on the back, the sacrum is so important. That's another parasympathetic plexus. Okay? It's very, very important to get people to open up the sacroiliac ligaments and to be able to kind of open up the sacrum and the tailbone. Okay? We'll go through that in a second. Remind me to do another exercise standing up with you. So the SCM is very important to resolve. Okay? Because if it's constricting the ability of the vagus nerve to send parasympathetic signals to the rest of the organs. The phrenic nerve operates on the diaphragm, the other cranial nerve, the vagus nerve really is responsible for all the other organs. Okay, it's an autonomic nervous system nerve. So you really want to make sure that the neck is open. Okay, this chapter we talked about liver 4 being mentioned, chapter 2 of Living Show. Another thing that's very interesting about this chapter, they talk about below the ankle, below the elbow, below the knee, all the important points, and then they talk about the neck. So it's like you have a 5th. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's like another limb here. It's very important. Now, if you look, Kiiko says evolutionarily, that we start like with a tube, okay? And if you're a fish, you have your tongue sticking out here, okay? But as the reptiles don't have a neck. Okay, that's pretty obvious. Fish and reptiles don't have a neck. Once you get into the bird or the mammal form, you have a head and you have a neck. The head is no longer part of the torso. Okay, so there's something about the neck that's very important. Also, it's the connection between your nervous system that's controlled by the brain and the rest of the body. Don't ignore the neck. Okay, it's super, super important. There are people you cannot palpate the abdomen on. Okay, it just happens like that. I have a woman with a colostomy bag. I'm like, oh, thank you very much, but I don't think, it's not very appropriate. You have to diagnose somewhere else. Because, it's like, I don't do too much sheet washing, let's put it this way. It's just not what I want to do. No, you press on someone's abdomen, they have a bag, it's like when I'm needling her. Most people, their stomach gurgles and you go, oh good, things are relaxing. This person, you're needling and you're hearing this huge noise and the first time it happens, oh my God, what is this? Okay, yes, I get it. So SCM is super, super important. You have a number of options. The SCM itself is supposedly in the kidney category. The muscle itself belongs in the kidney category. Okay? However, it may or may, sometimes that's the best solution. Also, we have Opposite side, this is one of the few places where we use opposite side, triple warmer. Either triple, what I call, for most pulses, and if it's a rapid pulse, it's different, but if it's not rapid, I call triple warmer 8, people call it above 9, doesn't matter, it depends on which point in you like better, you know. It's about a third down from the elbow. I slide my finger up the triple warmer channel until it stops. Okay, I have a bunch of those, slide till it stops. You're stopping way too high, so you're probably pressing a little too hard. Just go lightly, like. Yes. Okay. And I need
Show us again.
about a third down. If it doesn't work, go slightly towards small intestine channel. Okay. And needle towards small intestine channel. Should release SCM other side, opposite side. Okay. Not same side, opposite side. Rapid pulse, we use Sanjar 5. Okay.
Opposite?
Opposite also. Now, the supporting points for it was for the Sanjo 8, the supporting point was gallbladder 40. Believe me, I've dropped the gallbladder 40 many, many years ago. Kiiko recently said something about that also, but you know, it used to be, must be 2, but you know, you can let go of the 40 usually. And 41 with Sanjo 5. Okay?
You drop, but you
I still drop
some.
gallbladder 41 also.
Okay.
I dropped both the 40s and 41s. It just doesn't get me enough bang for my buck. That's all. It's just me. Yeah. So that's the SCM. Then you have the scales, which is where, you know, officially you will call stomach 11, but if you ask any Chinese person, where is stomach 12? Okay, when I say Chinese person, I don't mean ethnic. I mean trained, not in TCM school in this country, you know, more like trained in a family, you know, something like, say Dr. O or Oakland or something. Where is stomach 12? They go like this. No, they just go to where the throat meets the body. Okay, why? What's the definition of stomach 12? No, not location. The definition, it's the meeting of all the young meridians in the front, right? Okay. What's the definition? Do 14. Same definition, right? Could you stand up? How do you find do 14? How do you find do 14? Okay, fine. See, okay, yeah, thank you. You go where it's between the neck and the back. That's thank you. It's the anatomical definition of. I mean, I understand it's below C7, but you know, it's like, who there? I mean, first of all, say the person is here. What are you going to say? Lift up, turn around, blah blah blah. Gee, are you kidding? It's like it's just a point. You know, it's not like you know, it's like not microsurgery here. Okay, so it's like, is it on the neck or is it on the back? If it's on one of those, it's not do 14. If it's in between, if it could fit both categories or neither equally well, it's do 14. It's good enough. Okay. Same thing with 12. So if 12 is here, because by definition, if it's supposed to meet all the young, it should really be here, because that's where it's the equivalent of do 14, unless you take rank 22. You know. So taking it here above the nipple kind of doesn't make sense. So most people, if you say trepan to them, they'll go here. They're not even going to bother the nipple line. Okay? So that's the scalings between the two heads of the SCM. Very important area also for a number of reasons. Number one, when you poke here, this is one of the few areas where you can actually get the fascia. You can actually touching the fascia. If you're not touching the SCM, which is a muscle, the scalings, you're touching something that's a little different than a muscle. And fascia belongs to the spleen. Okay? Because, you know, you have this argument. The liver is nourishing the tendons, and the spleen is nourishing what? But the liver is nourishing something that's, you know, the bamboo, and the power of the bamboo, and right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't want people to see.
Do you want me to draw that now?
Yeah, much better. So you actually can draw nicely. I mean, it's right nicely.
Oh, wait.
No,
it's this.
bamboo, yeah. And Dao.
And
Oh,
then
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Power,
that's
leap.
Power.
Yeah. Okay, so it's the power, an organ, something in the body that has power represented by bamboo. Okay, not grass. Okay, bamboo. So bamboo has striations. okay? And this has the power, okay? That's what the liver nourishes. The spleen nourishes now, okay, so now you can say tendons, but muscles fall into this category very easily also. So what is the spleen? Yeah, but the spleen, the character apparently originally is
Flesh.
flesh. It's something that's between the muscle and the skin. It's something in between. So to us, fascia would make sense. So where it's not easy to palpate fascia. Yeah, but this is one of those areas where you're touching is not exactly a muscle. You know, it's I don't know why, but it's one of those areas. If you have, now the other thing is it's the brachioradial plexus. So this will be one, quote unquote, a spleen type reflex. This will be a spleen 3 type reflex. Whereas pressure pain on gallbladder 21 will be a spleen 9 type reflex. Okay, sorry. So spleen 3 you feel in the scalenes. So we always check it. And any sort of hand problems, arm problems, shoulder problems, maybe the brachial plexus is the blood supply to this whole area, blankly headaches too. Maybe this is caught up, so you need to check it. And spleen 3 would be a good point for it. Other supporting points to release the scalenes, inner yin, which is basically liver 9 but on the kidney channel, heart 3, and lung 8. Are all good points that could be good supporting points. But spleen 3 would be the first one I would look at. Yes?
I just want to clarify, unless you say otherwise, it's always same side.
Yes.
Okay.
This system works one side, one side. We don't do this crossing business very often. It does happen, and if it does, I'll let you know. Some spleen points will cross. For example, spleen 4 crosses for knee or for stomach 21 pressure pain. It does cross. But most things don't cross. And the reason why it crosses is because the spleen and the liver channel cross each other.
Okay.
There's a crossing thing that's already predefined in the spleen channel. Okay. Just thinking if there's anything else we need in terms. Oh, one more concept. So we already now in the back. Sorry, there's a few things that we need to go through. In the back we have this. We already talked about Sanjiao 16. Now there's also the cervical. So I'm actually on the vertebrae. Okay, not on top, not on the do channel, but say the wato, and I'm pressing from the side towards the do. So those are very important to check because that's where the nerves come out. So basically I'm checking out the state of the nervous system when I'm checking the neck. Okay? And the last concept of, treatments for that. Just roughly, for like general possibilities, there's a lot more refinements. You can use, again, triple warmer 8 or triple warmer 5 for the cervicals, but it will be same side. So the same point, triple warmer 8 or 5, works opposite SCM or same side cervicals. Okay? Last thing I want to mention is autonomic nervous system disorders. It's a huge subject, but most of the people we see have autonomic nervous system disorders. Okay, they're a little bit, they can't adjust well between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sometimes they will show blood pressure discrepancies. Maybe high, maybe low. By the way, low blood pressure, always treat the low blood pressure. Okay? If you don't treat low blood pressure, what's happening? The low blood pressure, everything else you're treating, you have low blood pressure. The treatment doesn't go anywhere until you check up the blood pressure, and then suddenly everything else starts. You check all your points and nothing works, and then you do this point under the third toe, not finger. And suddenly, all your other points begin to work. You did this testing, you didn't prioritize right because you didn't look at the low blood pressure, or you didn't have the medical history, whatever. You tested all your points, and I'm doing the thyroid, I'm doing the blah blah, and I'm doing the blah blah, and nothing's moving, and I'm really frustrated. By the way, these people often are autonomic nervous system disorders. Often, there are a few ways to diagnose. Let me get back to it. Let me do this first thing. So then you decide, low blood pressure, and you do under the third toe, and suddenly you're testing your kidney points, and now the thyroid's all better. And it's like suddenly everything gets kicked up.
Where are you finding that toe point?
Under the third toe is where the toe meets the ball of the foot in the crease, in the middle of the crease.
Okay.
A very lovely point. You get used to needling, it's not a problem. When we first encountered it, Kiiko was advocating moxa. Because nobody wants to be needled there. Now nobody cares. We all do
What
it.
about high blood pressure pump?
Same one.
Same, that's what I
It's an
thought.
autonomic nervous system disorder. We don't care low or high.
Okay.
But I want to advocate one more thing. Always ask your patients about blood pressure. Don't ask them, is it low, is it high? Because first of all, the low people don't know. The doctor said it's fine. And you, gee, I think they said something, I remember something like 90/60. And first of all, then you have no clue what really happened. If it's low, they are told it's good. But let's take another blood pressure. Because remember, hold on one second. We're looking at the discrepancy between sympathetic and parasympathetic, which I'm going to equate for a moment, just for the sake of it, between systolic and diastolic.
Okay.
Officially, blood pressure between 120/80. They changed it, I believe, 7 years ago to it's supposed to be 110/70 is ideal. Who cares? Okay. You see that the difference is 40 mercuries. So if you have, let me give you some blood pressures that are going to look just fine. They're not high and they're not low. Okay. So I have 125, according to the 125 for systolic, nobody gives a damn. Over 60. It's too wide a gap. Okay? Let's take something like 100/80. It's too narrow. The diastolic, the relaxation, and the systolic, the pressure, which in some ways, not fully, definitely not fully, correspond to some extent to sympathetic and parasympathetic, don't match up. So this person doesn't know how to balance the nervous system. So it's balancing the nervous system is very important. So that's the under the third toe for me, and triple walnut 8. You have a whole bunch of more options around this. This is not the only option by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a good place to start. Now, another thing, if you want to do under the third toe, first of all, know that it's a better, and by the way, liver one also, better for rapid pulse. They are not great points for slow pulse types. For autonomic nervous system disorders, you're looking for a pulse, okay? Not going to call this a tight pulse. I will define it to you this way, okay? And I'm not a great pulse taker. It has a tightness, it has a sharpness to it. It's definitely not a wide pulse.
Wide.
Not a wide pulse. It has a narrowness to it, sharpness to it. And most important, that's much more important than all of that, when you press it deeper, not going to say disappear upon pressure. I'm going to say change it. Okay, if it changes quality, that's good enough. Disappear, fabulous. You really got it. Without mnemonic. Widens, becomes slippery, softens. That's all good enough for autonomic nervous system. Okay, so when you press it, it's sharp, and when you press it, it changes. Sometimes it actually becomes stronger, but it widens, and it sort of loses that part to it. Okay, that's an autonomic nervous system type person. Okay, so you will often see Kiiko taking pulse, and she doesn't say a word about it because she doesn't know how to teach pulse. She doesn't want to teach you something that she can define very well, because Nagano really, there are people who came out of Nagano, like Robert Levine. Robert Levine did not come from Nagano, but someone like Robert Levine, for example, that can say, oh, and he'll tell you, oh, you're taking this medicine and that medicine and blah, 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 blah. Fabulous. Well, okay. I remember when I asked Robert Levine to teach it, and he was like, well, I don't know if I can. And over the years, he began to be willing. But, it's not so simple to teach. So for Kiiko, it's like, I don't touch this stuff. She says, I'll teach what I know for sure. If I know for sure, because I asked her, just a few months ago, actually, I asked her about something, because somebody told me, now can you say the slippery pulse, or whatever. So I said to Kiiko, and she said, I have no clue. But she said, I take pulse too, but it's like, I can't teach it. If I can't teach what it's bullshit. So that kind of pulse, when it's tight and it disappears or changes upon pressure. That usually is an autonomic nervous system. Now, Avi has another definition of autonomic nervous system type. Okay, take this with a grain of salt, please. But it basically looks like this. Hi, how's this? How is this? How is this? Maybe, I don't know. Is this better? Maybe 5%. Is this better? Do you feel, when my nervous system goes berserk, usually, it's not because I'm such a good meter, but chances are, I'm telling you, and it works, chances are that person is an autonomic nervous system type. It's just, you know, it just works like this. You know, maybe I am an autonomic nervous system type. In fact, you can be pretty sure that I am. But, you know, when they rev up my nervous system to the point where I'm like, oh God, you know, this really is not working very well. Usually they are. Can you translate it to your clinic? I don't know. But it's an option to think about. Now, but by the way, I don't do psychological analysis on people. I don't do, it's the kind of stuff that TCM people do, the typing of that I don't do. You know, it's like I'm trying to, because I do this, I do this naturally. You know, it's like I'm very judgmental. Much better. No. Some people are easygoing, some people are not. I'm not. The spacious type, like, oh yeah, sure. Do what I don't want you to do, I'll be fine with it. It's like, do what you want to do, get the fuck out of my way. That's me. So I do the best I can not to get to, to release as much as I can, because, the treatment room is my therapy room. The patients are there just there to pay for my therapy. And that's very important. Anyway.
So in this person that's sort of unresponsive, if you do the third toe treatment, do you find that they
Often it may not be third toe, maybe I may need to release the essence, but there's something, I start treating the nervous system before I start treating everything else. And I usually start getting better results.